The building of a space colony would present a series of huge technological and economic challenges. A space colony would have to be self-sufficient to be able to serve thousands of humans in an environment very hostile to human beings. Depending on the location of the space colony, whether in orbit or planet-based, there are two main types. The first type would be the space habitats, or the orbital colonies.
An orbital space colony or space settlement is in orbit. So it's actually orbiting around the sun or around the Earth or around the moon in what's sometimes called free space or low Earth orbit.
The International Space Station, or the former Mir Space Station, could be considered as precursors of these orbital space habitats. A second type of colonies would be the surface-based colonies that would exist on the surfaces of planets, moons, or asteroids. Although nowadays it seems that surface-based colonies are the best option, there are, however, certain reasons to support the building of an orbital colony. A space colony in orbit around the Earth would have many important advantages over the surface-based colonies on the Moon, or on Mars, or on asteroids. The first advantage is the proximity to Earth. Travel back and forth to Earth should take only a few hours. Bringing supplies, materials, and specialized equipment from Earth to support construction would be relatively easy. In addition, there's another advantage to being close to the Earth: the protection from cosmic radiation that is provided by the Earth's magnetic field.
If you put your orbital settlement in exactly the right place, namely directly over the Earth's equator, not more than 500, 600, 700 kilometers high, you're protected by the Earth's magnetic field. And the total amount of radiation is much, much, much lower in low Earth orbit over the equator than it is on the surface of the Moon or Mars.
However, in a very high orbit around Earth, far from the protection of Earth's atmosphere and magnetosphere, or around the Moon or Mars or an asteroid, the hazard of radiation would be extremely high. Those settlers would suffer long-term exposure to dangerously high doses of radiation. Another pro of the orbital space colonies would be the continuous, ample, reliable solar energy. In a high enough orbit, there is no night. Solar power is available 24/7 in most high orbits. Although in high, low Earth orbit, there is some darkness during each orbit as a structure passes through the Earth's shadow.
Depending on what orbit you're in, you may have better access to solar energy. Not so much in low Earth orbit, but if you're in higher orbits, you have access to solar energy.
Solar panels for settlements would have to be huge in order to generate enough power. This power might be generated on separate solar power satellites and beamed to the settlement. The construction of these structures would be weightless. Zero-gravity construction means big settlements can be built with relative ease.
Some of the advantages of orbital settlement are it's a little easier to build larger things because you're operating in microgravity.
Under zero-gravity conditions, several industrial processes can be done much more easily than on Earth. Astronauts are able to move very heavy objects, up to a few tons of weight, without any help. Therefore, the lack of gravity would radically facilitate the construction of a round structure that was several miles high without its collapsing under its own weight. A near-Earth orbital colony could also generate important economic development as it encourages new energy or tourism markets. When these future orbital space settlements grow, they would be like cities in space, places where people could live and raise children.